Hey everyone, it's Optimus Prime, and I have the absolute honor of having my friend Plo Kool join me today. And what we're going to be chatting about, we're going to be doing a variety of videos together. But today we want to chat about at least what I've perceived to be the incompetence of the Bad Batch, especially as of late in season two. Whether it's not being able to hold on to their ship, or their interactions with Sid, or their mission success rate or lack thereof. Uh, I haven't really seemed to think that they've been the kind of clone commandos elite force that they kind of are supposed to be. But what do you think about it, Plo? How have you felt, especially this
Uh,
season?
yeah, it's been the show's been pretty meandering this season. I think, yeah, you don't necessarily get I feel like season one had a clearer. Well, honestly, even going back to season seven of Clone Wars, you had more of this vibe that these guys were good at what they do. Um, and same with season one, and then this season it just seems, yeah, they kind of seem to be making certain foolish mistakes, um, not as competent. But yeah, I think thankfully the past few episodes, I think especially the latest episode, that things seem to be maybe getting back on track, thankfully.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, overall the season, yeah, you don't really get the vibe of that they're an elite force.
Yeah, I felt that a lot recently, and I'm glad you brought up kind of their appearance in Clone Wars, because in some ways, I almost felt that was like they were almost too like overpowered. I mean, like in Clone
Mm,
Wars when they were introduced, I mean, like they were like seemingly flawless, right? And
mm,
especially if you're gonna do like a whole show about them, I mean, it makes sense. You don't want them to be perfect or just
yeah,
wiping everyone out. I mean, you got to have flaws, But I think, especially like you're saying, as of late, they've taken it too far to the point where, like, I mean, they're making rookie mistakes. Like the whole one thing that really bothered me was how their ship got stolen so easily. I mean,
yeah,
I get that they were trying to show, like, how they were a little dysfunctional, like once Echo departed. So I
yeah.
like that, but like, I mean, would they really like leave the ship unguarded or not have some kind of security system? I feel like, I mean, that was just ridiculously stupid. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about the ship? I mean, do you think they
Y-
could have written that better?
yeah, I think it was kind of silly because it's blocked by um the mountain. Essentially, it was like on the other side, and
Yeah.
it's why didn't you just have Wrecker guarding the ship
Yeah. I
and
feel
just,
like they could have stationed him at the ship instead of
yeah, just leave him at the ship instead of at the entrance.
yeah.
So, yeah, I thought it was a little too convenient. I get what they were doing, and it
Yeah.
was used as a way to progress the plot of that episode. But yeah, it just seemed like really, yeah, it just too incompetent.
Yeah, exactly. Taking it too far. And especially like you'd think even if they didn't leave someone at the ship, which seems silly, but like you'd think they'd have some kind of like security alert or something. I mean, we have stuff like that in our world. I mean, where you can have an
Yeah,
alert when someone enters your home. I mean, you'd think in Star Wars they'd have some kind of
a comm
like
link that starts
yeah,
beeping or something. Yeah,
like you'd
something like
think
that.
tech would have some kind of way to monitor what's going on with the ship, and you at least would have been like alerted that there's some kind of like security breach. So I thought that was they could have written that better to accomplish what they wanted to do for the episode.
Hmm.
Um, and all along too, like in other areas, I mean, they've been messing up a lot of missions as of late. I mean, kind of at Dooku's castle, I felt like they kind of did some silly things there. And then with the whole mission, so that like that whole treasure hunt episode where like
Hmm.
I mean, like the best part of that episode is probably like the score because
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
the Kinders were great with that. Yeah.
oh, he's been fantastic,
Mm.
and throughout all of it too. I mean, like, he's had wondrous work in season two. It's been some of the best parts, to be honest. But I don't know. I feel like just they keep failing missions. They keep doing silly things. And another thing I don't really like either is with Sid. How I mean, they're starting to finally realize that Sid may not be like the best associate, but like all along, I felt like they're too like willing to just go along with what she says. You know, I mean, I get
Mhm.
that they're like not used to this world, right? Especially in Bad Batch season one. Like, I mean, they're used to being like operatives within the Republic and always being given orders and given their housing and their everything being done for them. Now they're out on their own and they have to figure out how to survive and get, food and resources and money in, a wide open galaxy. But same time, it's just like I feel like they've always been too willing to just do whatever Sid wants them to do. Like that episode with the riot racing. Like they just whenever she said like, "Oh yeah, I got something I want y'all to do with me," and they were like, "Oh, well, we'd like a few details first," and then she's like, "Nah, we don't have time for that. Just come with me." And they're like, "Oh, okay." I mean, it
Mhm.
just I don't know. They're too willing to like follow her and not question anything, until now. But I feel like it's been kind of I don't know, a little too late. I mean, almost like they've been just kind of stupidly following her. How do you
Yeah,
feel
it
about that?
I think yeah, it's went on too long because let's see, this was episode 11. It took them 11 episodes in the 2nd season when they've been doing missions for her since the middle of last season.
Yeah,
Like, it's just too long. Like, there's certain things that's what kinda gets to my point of the show in general. There's so many great concepts that they just take forever to
yeah,
follow up on, and they waste time. Like, I don't think it should be taking until episode 11 to get a follow-up to the stuff with Mount Tantus and the new cloning program.
yeah. I
Like,
mean,
that was set up in the finale of last
yeah,
season,
exactly. I was even
in w
struggling to remember. Yeah,
yeah, like, why wait?
yeah,
Yeah, because like, exactly, it's been almost 2 years since season 1, and you can't, like you have to refresh the audience on what's going on at the beginning of the season. You can't
yeah,
just following up plot threads that late on to the season is just a problem, and I think, yeah, well, that will go into what we'll talk about later about how it's just like if was a more, um, story to story show like the Clone Wars, you could do
yeah,
stuff like that, but because it's a linear story following a certain group of characters, you don't really have much room to do that.
yeah, yeah. We'll make sure to chat about that in a separate video because that is a
Yeah, yeah,
interesting topic to
yeah.
dive into. But yeah, I agree. It's weird that they took forever to follow up on something. I don't remember if it was like a post credit scene or something, but I know it was like the final scene I think of season one
Mhm.
was Nala Se arriving at that station. And yeah, it's weird that they took forever. And it's like, look, I get it. You want to, I mean, since they've gone with the decision to make the Bad Batch the main characters of the show, you got to flesh them out and make us care about them, which I think they've done a pretty good job with Tech this season. But I mean, other than some stuff with him and Omega, I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, it's more just the incompetence, especially with Hunter, to be honest. With Hunter being like the leader, I mean, he hasn't really gotten much good stuff this season, in my opinion. He just seems kind of incompetent, to be honest.
Yeah, Hunter was my favorite character season 1,
Yeah.
and he's done they haven't done anything with his character,
Yeah.
really, for season 2.
Yeah.
And I've appreciated that's why Tech has been my favorite character of the season, but it's because he's the only one who's gotten any real development. Echo got some, but now they kinda rushed it made sense for him to go with Rex, but they rushed that whole plot line, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, it's disappointing to see, and Wrecker's just Wrecker.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's the thing. Like with Wrecker, it's like I get it. Because Wrecker's supposed to be stupid,
yeah,
so I'll give him a pass for making silly, incompetent mistakes. And then of
yeah,
course Omega. I mean, Mega's
a
kid.
kid, yeah, yeah.
But like Hunter is supposed to be like this, like the leader of the group. He should be like the guy who knows, like, he's the guy who should have the most experience, the most know-how on how to lead the squad. And then Tech, I mean, in a different way. I mean, not as a leader, but I mean, with all the technology and stuff. And then I guess with Echo's departure, I get it because Echo was a pretty competent guy. So I can get how with him gone, that mixes things up. But especially like I don't know, when sometimes it almost looks like cartoonish, like silly, like in that same episode with their ship getting stolen. I think that was episode 9. Where like they're running from like they have like the whole like stampede of like things of the animals running from the storm, and then they have to like quickly escape the storm and go into the mine, and they like somehow like lose like the crate full of like the substance that they were
Mm.
mining, right? And then it gets like knocked up by the winds, and then lightning strikes it and like blows up and like closes them to the cave. I mean, I just feel like a group of elite soldiers probably wouldn't have let that happen. I don't know. Like they dropped it and then they left it and then it blew. I don't know. That it almost just seems silly.
It's it's too cartoony at
Yeah.
times, and it's just like I don't want to ever be the person. It's just like taking a children's show overly too serious. But just
Yeah.
because you're a children's show doesn't mean you can't have good storytelling. And like it's like it's not an excuse.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why, yeah, I think people should never pass off just poor um uh shortcuts in writing as just like, well, it's for kids. Like, no, that's
Yeah.
you can't, like, the Clone Wars would have those moments too, but like overall the Clone Wars took itself, you know, as seriously as
Oh,
as a
absolutely.
story overall. There was definitely the silly moments, but like it respected its audience, whether you were a kid watching um or an adult, because kids are smart. Like they, you have to talk down to them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember me being young, obviously watching the Clone Wars, and I mean, I was paying attention to the larger story threads, and I mean, look at something
Yeah,
like Bara. I mean, there's a lot of
exactly.
really serious storytelling that's still something kids can watch, but it's also like really well told.
Hmm.
Whereas here, you end up having like I think the bad writing give the wrong impression of the Bad Batch. So like a lot of these issues are making the Bad Batch seem incompetent. All the incompetency issues that I'm kind of having with them is because of the writing. I think that they could write it better to make them more respectable, because that's the thing. I don't want to like I like these characters. I don't want them to be written to a point where I'm starting to like disrespect them and laugh at them. I was literally laughing at them in that episode,
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
episode 9. Like how could they possibly like f up this mission more, like with losing their ship and having to run from the storm, getting trapped in a mine, and then like falling into like an aqueduct. And I mean, it just they need to write these things better, because the only good thing about that episode was like the development with Tech and Omega. That conversation they had was really great. I like that.
Hmm.
That was like
It
5 minutes.
was,
So I mean, they need to find a better way to get there without
yes.
making them seem like, I mean, I'll say it, like morons. I mean,
Yeah.
like sometimes they're writing them like morons. And it's like, I mean, they need to find a better way to write it so that you get these moments and you get interesting stories while not actually making them look completely foolish, you know?
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, hopefully they'll improve that moving forward. I mean, I'm hoping, like you were saying too. I mean, the latest episode was looking better, and hopefully moving forward they're going to kind of find the way to, obviously have them be flawed and have their differences and struggles, but at the same time still seem like the elite clone commandos that they are, you know. So hopefully they'll fix that moving forward. That's what I'm hoping.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
But anyways, thank you all for watching. And definitely stay tuned. We have some more videos coming up. Dive into some of the topics we mentioned here and some other cool things as well. Thanks.